Imagine this for a second. You wake up, and hospitals are turning ambulances away, train stations are completely frozen, factories have just ground to a halt, all because of one single piece of bad code. Now, this sounds like something out of a movie, right? But it wasn't. It was a global reality. Today, we're going to dive into the story of a massive cyber attack to really understand this powerful concept that's basically the internet's immune system.
All right, so to really get into this, we need to rewind the clock to one of the most infamous days in the history of cybersecurity. We are, of course, talking about the WannaCry ransomware attack.
So this screen, this is basically the stuff of nightmares for anyone who works in IT. Oops, your important files are encrypted. This one message paralyzed huge organizations. We're talking about the UK's National Health Service. Hospitals literally had to cancel operations, all the way to major telecom companies and car factories. It was, no exaggeration, digital chaos on a massive global scale. But here's the kicker, the really crucial detail. This whole thing, it didn't have to happen. See, the attack used a tool called Eternal Blue, which had actually been leaked a month before the attack. And Microsoft, they'd already released a patch to fix the problem. So the cure was already available before the disease even started to spread. The problem was, well, not everybody took their medicine. So you've got this attack just tearing across the globe, right? Spreading like wildfire. And then it just stops. In a twist that I swear sounds like it's straight out of a Hollywood movie, this whole global threat gets shut down. And how it happened? Well, you're not going to believe it. So, how did they do it? You're probably thinking, okay, it must have been some huge coordinated effort, right? All the big spy agencies working together, or maybe a massive counterattack from some tech giant. Nope. The real answer is, well, it's way weirder and a whole lot cheaper. $10.69. I'm not kidding. That's how much money it took to stop a ransomware attack that was causing billions, with a B, of dollars in damages all over the world. Just wow. So who was behind this $10 fix? Not some secret government team. It was a 22-year-old security researcher, a guy named Marcus Hutchins, working from his bedroom, who became this incredible accidental hero. While the rest of the world was in full-on panic mode, just fighting fires, Marcus was actually digging into the malware's blueprint, trying to figure out how it ticked. And here's what he found. He noticed the malware was trying to phone home to this really bizarre, totally non-existent web domain. So just on a whim, he thinks, I wonder if that domain name's available. He checks, it is. He registered it for that $10.69, and boom! Without even realizing it at first, he had just tripped a hidden kill switch built right into the malware, stopping its spread dead in its tracks. Okay, but wait a second. Why on earth would malware have a kill switch? It makes no sense, right? Well, there are two main theories. The first one is that the creators were actually smart enough to build in a secret off switch, kind of like a brake pedal, just in case their creation went rogue. But the second theory, and this is the one most people believe, is that it was actually a sloppy self-defense mechanism. The malware would check for this domain, and if it existed, it would assume it was inside a researcher's test environment, a sandbox, and it would just shut down. A flawed defense that became its own downfall. So what a story, right? An accidental hero, a $10 fix. But this whole drama brings us to the real lesson here. The thing at the very heart of modern cybersecurity. Because that kill switch, that was a lucky break. And you just can't build a real strategy on luck. And that leads us to the most important question of all. It's fantastic that we had a hero and a cheap fix, but how do we stop the next WannaCry from ever even getting started? The answer? Well, it was staring us in the face the whole time, right there in the timeline. The vulnerability was known, the leak of the tool was known, the patch from Microsoft was already out there for months. All of this was public knowledge. The problem wasn't a lack of information. It was a complete failure to act on that information. And this is where we finally get to the core of our explainer today, Cyber Threat Intelligence, or CTI. It's a really simple but incredibly powerful idea. It's all about collecting and, most importantly, sharing information about threats. Things like vulnerabilities, malicious IP addresses, attacker methods, so that everyone can build a stronger defense before an attack ever happens. Probably the best way to think about CTI is like a collective digital immune system. You know, when one person gets sick and their body creates antibodies, that experience can be used to make a vaccine that protects everyone else. Well, CTI works exactly the same way, but for the digital world. Now, a really key point here is that CTI isn't just one giant blob of data. It's actually tailored for different people inside an organization. So for the security engineers on the front lines, you've got technical intelligence. That's the nitty-gritty stuff, the specific IP addresses to block. For their managers, there's tactical intelligence, which is all about the methods attackers are using right now. Go up a level and you have operational intelligence, which gives you a deeper look into a specific attack. And then, all the way at the top, for the executives in the boardroom, there's strategic intelligence, the big picture view they need to make smart decisions about risk. And this whole thing is a continuous cycle. It's always moving. It starts with collection, just gathering raw data from all over. Then that data gets processed and analyzed until it becomes actual, useful intelligence. From there, it's disseminated to the people who need it, and then they can use it to do things like update firewalls, patch their systems, or brief their bosses. It's a living, breathing system that turns data into protection, and it's constantly evolving as new threats pop up. Okay, so we have the information, and we have a process for handling it. But the real magic, the part that could have actually stopped WannaCry in its tracks, happens when we start to share. This shows the central idea perfectly. Okay, look at that organization down there on the left. When they get attacked, they don't just defend themselves and keep it a secret. No, they investigate the threat and then they share that intelligence through a central hub. That info is then blasted out to the entire community, instantly giving all the other organizations the defenses they need. An attack on one becomes a lesson that protects absolutely everyone. In other words, it's basically the neighborhood watch for the internet. I mean, if you see something suspicious on your street, you don't just lock your own door, right? You tell your neighbors so they can lock theirs too. It's all about collective defense.
So, what's the bottom line here? Why is this so critical? Well, CTI helps organizations slash their risk, it stops financial losses, it protects their brand reputation, and really, it just helps them operate more successfully and securely. It moves you from being reactive and constantly putting out fires to being proactive and preventing the fires from even starting.
The reality is, as the bad guys get more sophisticated, we just can't afford to defend ourselves in our own little silos anymore. The only path forward is to be guided by intelligence, to learn from every single attack, and to share that knowledge far and wide. Which really leaves us with one last thing to think about. The threats we face are connected, they're collaborative, and they are global. So the crucial question is, in a world like this, can our defenses really afford to be anything less?